Well, this part of Pembrokeshire is known as Little England beyond Wales. And for myself, I'm from Neath, which is in the South Wales area, but it's a very, very Welsh. People speak with a very Welsh accent. When you come to Tenby, or even in the South Gower as well, which is quite near to Swansea, a lot of people speak with an English accent. So we say posh, but there's a reason for it. It's not people are trying to be posh. It's the history behind it. So the Normans came over to Britain in 1066, and then they created the town of Tenby, a walled town. And they brought people over here who'd been loyal to them during the campaigns of 1066 and afterwards. So they brought over a lot of English people and a lot of Flemish people. So the people who live in South Pembrokeshire now are the descendants of those people who came over, not with William the Conqueror, but after William the Conqueror. So there's a line of castles that divides South Pembrokeshire and North Pembrokeshire. North Pembrokeshire, the land isn't as good for like agriculture and farming and stuff. South Pembrokeshire is better. So in North Pembrokeshire, even today, people will speak Welsh and they'll speak with a Welsh accent. In the south, they won't speak much Welsh and they'll speak with a very English accent. So it's fascinating for me because when I was a kid, I used to come to Tenby and I always used to think I was in England. And when I used to go to like the south of Gower, which has got the same history, I used to think, am I in England, even though it's really close? But I realise now that it's not that people were trying to be English or trying to be posh, as we'd say, and where I'm from. It's just that's the history of the place, and that's the history of Wales. So it's a very varied history. The area I'm from is very much, dominated by industry, coal, iron, whereas this area, maybe not so much, it's a bit more agricultural. But the town of Tenby has been doing trade with, when you come to these little places, you think, oh, it's very isolated. But I think these places, they weren't isolated back hundreds of years ago, and they still aren't today, really. So you have people coming up, you'd have ships coming up from France, coming across from Ireland, coming from Spain, bringing olive oil, wine to the harbour here. So these people who live in these places, they've always, even today, there's a lot of people who come from other places to visit Tenby, but that's always been the case. It's always been, it's always been quite cosmopolitan, I suppose, quite, multicultural. So the sea years ago would have been seen as more of a kind of like a highway rather than now you'd think, oh, it's a bit of a barrier, the rough Atlantic, you wouldn't want to go out there. But years ago it would have been easier to move things across, perhaps from here to Ireland or across to Cornwall, Devon, up to Scotland and then over to France, Brittany, and then down into Spain. So it would have been like a highway, medieval highway. It would have been a lot more difficult to move things from here to inland than move things from here to, France or Cornwall.
How long have you been doing the tours? And where do you go?
I started them in 2019, working in a jail, a teacher in the jail. So I'm a history teacher, and then I started teaching in jail. So I've been there for like 15 years, but then I was turning 40 and I thought, maybe I need to get out of jail. So I started doing this, which is like the complete opposite really, is taking people out, is going to different places. So it's been going well. So the first year I thought, oh great, it's really kicking off. And then COVID, so last 2 years or so it's been quiet, but now it's starting to kick off again. A lot of Americans love it. Got a lot of French people today, so I could practice my French. A lot of Canadians, Europeans, South Asians, Australians, big mix, but
and what do they want to
they all
see?
love a bit of Wales. They all love a bit of Wales,
What do they want to see that they haven't got at home?
Well, think a lot of Americans, Canadians, they think we haven't got a history. We haven't got the same kind of history. I mean, I love American history, but they haven't got the same kind of history. And a lot of Americans, Canadians, they got big connections with Wales or Britain, Ireland, so they kind of come in and seeing their roots really. Obviously Wales, you're into your castle. If you're into your castles, it's the place to come because it's got more castles per square mile than anywhere else in the world. 600 and something.
Well, the main purpose of those castles is not to serve us, the Welsh.
No, what they call it, the magnificent badges of our subjugation. That's what they call the castles. That was of Edward I in North Wales. But my tours are based in Cardiff, so a lot of people say, oh, can we go to North Wales? But it's a 4-hour drive, so we can't really do it. I'm not saying it's a beautiful place, but it's a bit out of the, it's a bit out of my range. But there's loads of castles. They love the castles, they love the abbeys, they love the mountains, they love the beaches. And even, on a day like today, it's March, but it's a nice place to come and just have a little, soak in the history, have a little walk. So I do 3 tours mainly. I do one pickup in Cardiff, Castell Coch, just north of Cardiff, Caerphilly Castle, which is the second largest castle in Britain, Tintern Abbey, and then Chepstow. That's one of my main ones. The other one then is we go from Cardiff to Rhossili, voted one of the best beaches in the world. I don't know how you can decide what one of the best beaches in the world is, but it was voted. And then we go on to Langland, Mumbles, which is like the seaside resort for Swansea. Then we go on to Neath Abbey, which is a Cistercian abbey. Spend like about half an hour there, it's free. And then we go on to Melancourt Waterfall, because the Vale of Neath is known for its waterfalls. And this one then, what I'm doing today, we go to Pembroke Castle, Tenby, where we are now, spend a couple of hours here, and then we move on to Larne, which is where Dylan Thomas wrote some of his most famous works. He's actually from Swansea, but that's where he wrote, like Under Milkwood. He based Under Milkwood on the characters we used to meet around the pubs and stuff in Larne. So this is probably the longest one we've got, because it's a 2-hour drive to get to Pembroke. But so they're the 3 I do. But I can do like bespoke tours as well, but everybody wants to do a different thing. So I try to set it, try to set where we're going to go. And they're the 3 main ones. But I've taken people to St. David's, Brecon Beacons, I've taken them all over.